probably guessed from the title, I'm doing a salted caramel chocolate stout. This has come to me from Brew Rick Shaw via, no, the other way around, Hapless Brewer is a Green Preston. I've got that wrong, I do apologise. Hapless Brewer via Rick Shaw. So I've watched both their videos, both done a similar beer, and I have come up with something that I think is going to be similar, if slightly different. No brewing software today, boys and girls, just going off the pages. So just mashed in there, 4 kilograms of crisp extra pale Maris Otter, 500 grams of flaked torrefied oats, and then that's it. Going to mash this in, we're mashing at 65 degrees for an hour, and then good stuff. Then it goes with Verman roasted barley, 150 grams, crisp chocolate, 250 grams, and crisp dark crystal, 100 grams. So that's going to go in then at mash out, which we lifted to 77 degrees for 15 minutes. So yeah, that's what's happening so far. Single hop addition, 15 grams of Magnum at hot break, and you know you're getting footage of that. Supposed to be 500 grams of lactose. I thought I had lactose in stock. I do have lactose in stock, but I have 250 grams of lactose, so it's going to be slightly different. And then we're going to make some caramel, salted caramel liquid goodness. The boys have both used 500 grams of demerara sugar to make their caramel. I'm going to use a full kilo because why not? And yeah, I've never made caramel before. Quite similar to Rick when he done the video. He had never done it before. He was a bit anxious about it. But you know what I say, in for a penny, in for a pound. So we're going to do that. We're going to make a caramel. I'm going to up the salt slightly because I do like salted caramel. Those salted caramel Twix that have been out in the market recently. OMG. So yeah, slight differences. 7 grams of salt. Lowering down the lactose slightly. I thought I had other lactose in a different bag, but it turned out to be maltodextrin, which is slightly different. Yeah, and then I'm just going to brew it, just going to boil it up, ferment it. The nail yeast, I'll get to that later. It's just going to be fermented at room temperature and just at a normal fermenter. Not doing any pressure or anything. I've got my lager in the fermenting chamber under pressure, going away, so this will just be at room temperature for probably a bit longer. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. Bit of a cock up already. A few silly things before we even got the mash started. But here, look, we're 25 to 10 in the morning. I like to mash in at 9 in the morning, so we're already 90 minutes behind schedule. But you know what? It is what it is. the top plate from the mash bucket there, and the overflow, and obviously the thing, the recirculation yoke. Yeah, that smells incredible. Absolutely incredible. So in we go. Straight in, no kissing. Just give it a good. So by adding the dark grains later in the mash, sort of towards mash out, the theory is then that you're going to get the colour, a lot of colour from the grain, but you're not going to get as much of the astringency. Which brings me to the next point. I looked at the my hop sort of fridge there, my hop freezer, and I actually had 30 grams of Magnum in a bag. So I sort of thought, well, you know, what's the difference between 15 grams and 30 in a brew like this where there's no other hops? And when I looked it up, I put it on the what you call the Brew software there, just no other additions, just the hops to see what the hop Magnum would change it. Changed it from 27 IBUs to 55, which, you know, if you've watched my channel back, particularly watched the Full Ulster videos, I like a good bitter beer, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with the 15 grams that I originally planned. And the reason for that is I don't know how much extra bitterness is going to be added by the darker hop or the darker grains here. So as you see, we've just hit the old hot break. So time for our first and only addition. In here we have 15 grams of Magnum, and if you can see in the bottom, we have our 7 grams of salt. So in it goes. No point standing on ceremony. It's in now. One kilogram of Demerara sugar and a good squirt of lemon juice. So you've just seen me try to make some caramel there. Not sure how well it's went. It's hot. So, I'm now looking forward and goes. There's a bit of excitement there. The caramel is in the fermenter now. When I poured it in, it decided to boil. It was nearly to boil over. Then I added the immersion chiller, which cooled the boil right down. So I had to really make the boil. So we're cooking all right here. We have about 10 minutes left of the boil. Portaflock has been added. The caramel has been added, and I'm just going to change my mind. I'm going to add the lactose at flame out or at power cut. I'm not sure if I've actually made caramel there. I think it's more like toffee. The spoons have all hardened up, like really break your teeth toffee type stuff. Maybe 1 kilogram was too much. But you know, go big or go home. But anyway, I've either made a salted caramel chocolate stout or I've made a salted toffee chocolate stout. We'll find out in a while. But yeah, so we'll just do a bit of chilling. So that's the end of the brew day. I've even managed to do most of the cleaning up, just waiting for the dishwasher to finish with actual dishes before I stick some of the plates and stuff in from the Brewzilla. So that's what we came up with. That's our wort. Took too much out for a sample for my hydrometer, but yeah, pretty plain sailing on the brew day. From a beer point of view, the only issue I really had was the salted caramel or the caramel making. Pretty convinced that I've made toffee instead of caramel, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Just sniffing the wort, as it were. There is like that sort of burnt sugar kind of smell. That was, you know, when the sugar starts to melt down. I am getting quite a bit of that. Disappointed then, didn't have the full amount of lactose. See how that turns out in the beer. Might get lost. You know, it's only 250 grams, should be 500 grams. Probably should be more because I put a kilo of sugar in it. Jesus Christ, Jacko, what were you thinking? But my OG is sitting at, I would suggest, 1064. Now you can't really determine too much from that because obviously you have the lactose, you have the caramel stroke toffee stroke brown sugar, and you have the different stages in the mash. So it'll be interesting to see where it finishes off with the London yeast that I ended up going with. But yeah, so that's basically my second stout that I've made. I made one last year for St. Patrick's Day. This one is probably pushing it a bit for it to be ready for St. Patrick's Day, but we'll see what we'll do. If you're watching this before St. Patrick's Day, you know that it has worked out. But yeah, the one thing, obviously there's very few hop additions in a stout, and there's very little in the way of cleaning up. There's very little trub at the bottom of the Brewzilla at the end of the boil. There's a couple of seconds of video there of me lifting it out and showing you. So yeah, if I liked stouts a bit more, I'd probably brew more of them. Yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't double up the hops there. Actually, that is very bitter as it is. Obviously, that will balance out as we go through the fermentation process. And so then just going forward, there's no dry hops, there's no additions. Sorry, tell a lie. In 10 days' time, there will be a kilo of cacao nibs being added. I'm just going to go down to the shop now and buy them. I'm going to soak them in some bourbon for the 10 days before adding them in. Not even going to bother with a hop sock or anything like that. They're just going to get bucked in and do, as they say around these parts, it'll do bucking rightly. So yeah, so that'll be that. And then we are going to bottle condition this and bottle carbonate. Is that the bottle condition's the right word, isn't it? Yeah, so we're going to bottle condition it, and I absolutely hate bottling. It doesn't make any difference to me if it's off the keg or if it is out of the fermenter. It's the same process really. So, I don't know, but it's going to be a bit of a tedious day. It's a stout, so it has to go in 500ml bottles. That's the law as far as I'm concerned. I've got a couple of 300ml bottles of stout downstairs, but I mean, there are investigations going on. Sue Gray suddenly found herself a wee bit less busy, so she'll be investigating as to why stout was put into a 330ml bottle. But no, I'm going to go 500ml. I'm going to do, if I work out, I think I'm just about 21 litres in the fermenter, so we'll say 20, which means I'm going to need 40 bottles. I'm going to do 12 into plastic bottles, like this. The PET bottles with the screw tops. They are going to be sent out to different people, and then the remainder will be done in traditional 500ml, the big bottles, you know the sort. Okay, so it's the 26th of April. We've gone on a few weeks and months from when I actually did the grain video. If you remember, it was originally meant to be a St. Patrick's Day Stout, which I've done last year, so I was doing another one this year. Then the time got away from me a bit, so that was changed to an Easter Stout, but we're past Easter now as well. So full disclosure, as usual, I've already had one of these. It wasn't great. The carbonation didn't happen the way it was meant to. The flavour wasn't fantastic, so that's why I've given her another couple of weeks. But I'm quite keen to get this video out. I am, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to try and hide a bad beer from you. You know, I've made this beer, I've went through the bother of filming the whole process, so may as well give you the shit as well as the good. So this is what it is. 500ml bottle as usual for stout. So a very small amount of gun barrel smoke there. So a bit more carbonation than we did whenever I tried it the last time, so that's good news. So I have been slightly aggressive with the pour there as well. Oh my. That's an entirely different beer, folks. An entirely different beer. I'm getting a black colour. I'm getting black with a cappuccino head. Oh, I've lost my tracking. There we go. New toy. Is it working? Yeah, look at that. Woo! Anyway, so black with a cappuccino head. Before when I tried this, it was a slightly off brown colour. I was really disappointed with it. So on the nose we have like quite a, it's almost unpleasant. The only way I can describe it is you get that sort of roasted note that you get from most stouts, like, you know, I always hate going back to Guinness, but it's the one we all know. It's like that sort of roasty, unmistakable twang in your nose, but it just seems a little bit harsher in this. If I go really deep into it, or like really stick my nose into it, I do get a hint of caramel, I guess. So another one of the problems, well, we'll go in and see what happens. That is an entirely different beer than what I had a month ago. So medium light body, nice sweet note to it, a bit of alcohol burn just sort of on the tail, lots of roast flavours coming through. The one thing it's not, really there for me is the salted caramel, which kind of defeats the purpose of making a salted caramel stout if your caramel isn't there. So started off this bit of the video quite downbeat, actually thinking that this was a shit beer. I'm finishing it off slightly higher in so much that it's not a shit beer anymore. It's quite decent, and actually I'm glad I didn't just bin it. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't bin that. Now, it's not a fantastic beer. It's not the beer that I wanted. It's not the salted caramel flavours. There is a bit of caramel going on there, I think. But it's just not quite balanced out right with the alcohol. I wonder maybe... I wonder is it just slightly too alcoholic at the moment? I wonder if I give that another month or two, will it come even more in? That's not good England at all. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this video out now, and then I will, maybe in a month or two, maybe towards the end of the summer, when we get back into sort of autumn time, open another bottle and tasting just on a homebrew Wednesday type thing, and we'll see how we go from there. I have to say the sweetness is a wee bit sickening. I've only sort of had about half a pint, and I'm sort of thinking it's going to take me a while to finish this. So yeah, in terms of experiment, it is an experimental beer for me, one that I copied off Brew Rick, who then in turn copied it off Hapless. They both sort of really enjoyed their beer. I'm not saying I dislike it, but I'm not saying I really like it. Somewhat disappointed in the final product. So if I was to do it again, I would probably try and refine it, maybe up the salted caramel, reduce the alcohol or something like that. But I don't make that many stouts, so I don't know if it's something I will revisit or whether it's something I'll just sort of say, well, I've tried that, it didn't really work. I can't help but, we're sort of getting on a bit here, we're rambling a bit, but I can't help but compare it to last year's stout, which was Stronghold, which was the coffee stout, milk coffee stout, sorry, which was fine but needed more coffee in it, but it was a really nice beer. This one here is good, is drinkable. Doesn't tick the box of what it it's meant to be. It's not salted caramel, so there's level there with Stronghold, but then Stronghold's a better stout. So I cannot really comparing the two and thinking the Stronghold was better. I have a friend in work who makes just a lactose, so just a milk stout, which he rants and raves about. So he's given me the recipe. I might try that at some point this year, but I'm so far behind him a brewing already, guys. I have another sort of making up for 2 years of not partying. I have another party coming up, and the guys want me to do that. Excuse me, the Malt Miller Bohemian Lager that I've done a couple of times. Fantastic beer. With that, literal yeast can be made maybe a week or so, a couple of weeks. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the better. So I'm going to be doing that. I still have my New England IPA grain downstairs to make, and I have one of my favourite beers that I've made in the past, the Full Ulster, which the video was about 2.5 hours long, so I'm not surprised if you haven't watched that. But I like to make that again. It's been a few years and I'm a better brewer now, so it's quite close to what I wanted on it. So I'm really looking forward to getting a couple of days off together and to really make sure that beer comes out fantastic. So there'll be no rushing anything at all. But anyway, guys, I'm starting to ramble. It's getting late tonight. In terms of my salted caramel stout, yeah, it's a stout. That's all I can really say good about it. Gets on the scale, on the Jackson scale, it gets 1 thumb up.